Good day and welcome to another edition of Citizens Movement Radio News. Today is Thursday, 18 September 2025. I'm Bernard Chele, ready to bring you the latest news and updates. Here are today's headlines on Citizens Movement Radio News. Zimbabwe, not your personal property. President Chamisa tells Mnangagwa. Chamisa remains our leader, says Molokeli. Opposition MPs call for electoral reforms. Now let's delve into the detailed stories. In a message seemingly directed to ZANU-PF dictator Emmerson Mnangagwa and his cartels, Zgananda, Citizens President Advocate Nelson Chamisa has warned Mnangagwa that they will not allow him to run down the country because of corruption. In a statement posted on his social platforms, President Chamisa said Zimbabwe is not a personal property of any single person and urged citizens to unite and stop the rot by ZANU-PF government. The former Lobengula Magwegwe MP Honorable Eric Gono concurred with sentiments of Advocate Chamisa, saying citizens have a duty to protect the country from corrupt cartels who are looting national resources. Let's hear more from him.
The cancer of corruption in this country, like People's President Advocate Nelson Chamisa has highlighted on his social platforms, that it's a serious disease within the ruling party, the ruling elite, and it's causing untold suffering to the people of Zimbabwe. I think it's a challenge to young people. We can't continue to be just talking about these things. We have got to act upon it, because at the end of the day, it's a generation of young people whose future is being stolen, whose future is being squandered by a few individuals who are sulking and milking the resources of this country through corruption. We have seen every Auditor General's report exposes a huge volumes of corruption. But surprisingly, the young people of Zimbabwe are yet to take action about it. Now that the people's leader, the man that has got the ears and the love of the people of Zimbabwe, have spoken against it, I think that the foot soldiers must now put into action the words of the president. ZANU-PF must be stopped, but it cannot be stopped by words alone. It needs action. So it's a challenge to young people to stand up and act against corruption. The leaders have spoken. Young people must now act.
Wange Central Member of Parliament Honorable Daniel Molokeli has openly declared his allegiance to Citizens President Advocate Nelson Chamisa. Posting on his social platforms, Honorable Molokeli said President Chamisa remains their leader and also expressed confidence in him to usher in a genuine new dispensation for the country. Speaking to Citizens Movement Radio, he added that the idea of a new great Zimbabwe will soon become a reality. Honorable Molokeli said,
"Yes, it's so easy for people to forget that both in 2018 and 2023, the majority of the voters in Zimbabwe clearly begged Advocate Nelson Chamisa to be the president. Despite the manipulation of the election results, he remains the most popular politician in the country. And it is our duty and responsibility to support him, because he is the only real hope that we have for Zimbabwe. ZANU-PF has clearly failed. ZANU-PF is not going to build a Zimbabwe for everyone. It's only a Zimbabwe for Mbinga, a Zimbabwe for Zgananda, a Zimbabwe for bootlickers and cronies. So we need a leader who is going to mobilize the people of Zimbabwe into a great nation, and a new great Zimbabwe for everyone is possible through the leadership of Advocate Nelson Chamisa. He has my total support.
Opposition legislators have started pressing the government to implement electoral reforms based on the 2023 SADC Observer election report ahead of Zimbabwe's 2028 elections. Speaking in Parliament, Harare Central MP Honorable Love Mojimu demanded clear policy steps, while Honorable Ellen Shiryedenga said this is the time to implement recommendations to ZEC from the 2023 elections. In addition, Honorable Koban Madzivanyika highlighted serious shortcomings in voter registration, high nomination fees, state media bias, and election materials. Honorable Shakespeare Hamauswa called for genuine stakeholder dialogue to avoid disputed elections, and Honorable Ramsom Makamure stressed that Zimbabwe, having chaired SADC, must embrace and act on the regional bodies report. Meanwhile, speaking to Ngobizita Mlambo on Tita T program, senior opposition official Comrade Gift Ostalo Siziba laid out plans of how the new opposition movement will be like. Let's hear him speaking.
Can you take us through what you envision? Possibly the democratic alternative, especially the importance of having a founding manifesto. Start from there and build from there.
Look, thank you very much, Prime. That's a very important point because the democratic movement has suffered assault for the past 26 years. The democratic contingent, as we refer to it in these platforms, has suffered assault. But this is not new for democratic crusaders across the world. So we mourn, we reflect, but we also must forge ahead. We must not lose hope on the dream that made people to meet on the 11th of September 1999. That dream is a democratic society, a society that works for every Zimbabwean.
That was the ideology.
That was the galvanizing force, what we call the conscience of the moment.
Conscience of the moment.
The conscience of the moment that led workers, students, the church,
peasants,
ordinary people,
the women's movement.
The fact that Zimbabwe said we want a pro-poor, labor-backed organization.
So ideologically, they were pro-poor.
They were very clear.
Formed by workers.
It was formed by the working people. The working
possibly they should have been called the Labour Party.
Precisely.
Yes.
The working people were representative of the poor. Because the workers are the poor.
Yes.
They are the oppressed of the world. So we formed the democratic movement so that these poor people can find fully political expression in the vehicle of the movement for democratic change. That's why its key values were justice, freedom, and solidarity. To reflect
ideologically that they are social democrats.
So we are at a crossroads as a nation. The democratic movement has suffered assault. What must inform the next political conversation in our country is to say now the constitution is under threat. There is a deliberate attempt to undermine 26 years of the fight for a people-centered and people-driven constitution that reflects the aspirations of the people. Because the reason why the constitution is the most sacrosanct document, because it protects everyone. It protects ordinary people, protects professionals, business.
It regulates power.
It regulates excess power. That's why it is a clear principle of separation of powers between the judicial, the legislature, and the executive. So the first point of entry at the present moment is that the Zimbabweans, all of them must speak against the amputation of the constitution.
Regardless of your political views.
Secondly, because it protects even those that are within the state at the present moment. It is the constitution that we need now to protect the whole time Zambia.
That's true. The right to bail. The right to bail, fair trial.
It is the same constitution that must protect the Jonathan Moy's freedom of movement from Kenya to Zimbabwe.
Actually, the constitution actually says every person has a right to leave and to come back to Zimbabwe.
So Jonathan Moy does not need he says on Twitter. Jonathan Moy needs the constitution
to protect him,
to bring him back to this country. Because the freedom of movement is protected for and codified by the constitution of our country. But when you are still in the helm of power, you would think that the constitution does not matter. So it is also a reminder
to those in power,
to the 2030 putschists, because it's basically a putsch against the constitution.
It's treasonous, actually.
If you are pursuing a provision that needs a referendum to be amended, if you want to do it without that particular process. So it must be remembered, but for those that yield the power, when we were student leaders and met with Tobayo from Zimba, you would think that Tobayo is the law unto himself.
At some point he was.
When President Changirai, then the president of the democratic movement, was told by Titimas Mutasa that I'm looking for you when he was the Minister of State Security, he had no choice than to leave the country and seek refuge in Botswana when he had won an election. Because Mutasa thought that he is the law unto himself. But today, Mutasa needed the same constitution to protect him against his own.
Mutasa was lawlessness.
You get the point? So a reminder to those that are yielding power,
not tomorrow,
that you must invest in the sacrosanctity of the constitution.
Entrench democratic politics. Entrench constitutionalism. entrench the rule of law, entrench an independent judiciary, the principles, because one day
you would need it.
they should not say unozo rumwa nechekuchera.
You get this.
Yes,
So,
yes.
so as we define the character of the democratic movement, our first point of contact is to reaffirm our value of constitutionalism.
Okay.
Number two is to make sure that we re-articulate our Pan-African anchor. Because the challenge that we face in this country, Brother Mlambo, are not unique from the challenge that ordinary people are facing in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
That's so cool.
And the challenge is facing peasants in Lusaka, and the challenge is facing people in Tanzania, present-day South Africa. So the conversation about regional integration must be codified in the character of the democratic movement as a Pan-African democratic movement that seeks solutions not just for Zimbabwe, but solutions for the continent. Because we need regional and continental solutions to the problems facing black people in the world, Africans in general, and Zimbabweans in particular.
Yeah, you remind me of the words of the late great Kwame Nkrumah when Ghana got its independence. I think 56 or 57. The independence of Ghana is not enough until the entire African continent is liberated. So that idea that Africa is one is very, very important. Yeah,
Precisely.
So you have touched on the importance, if I have to quote you correctly, constitutionalism. Very, very important. Then that aspect of being Pan-African in nature. Right? So it's Pan-Africanism, but rooted in the principles and values of democratic politics and democratic governance.
Precisely.
But in terms of the training, what role would in training of cadres, party members in ideological, a founding manifesto, touched on it in the last episode, the role of political education in a political movement. Wow, how important is political education?
Look, at the present moment, our politics in the country is consumed by an antipathy towards ideas. So the first and most important duty of the democratic alternative is recruit people, but train them. Sankara talks about something very important when he's addressing soldiers in Upper Volta in preparation for what is present-day Burkina Faso. Thomas Sankara's principled politics as a celebrated African revolutionary was anchored on a clear ideological direction and persuasion. That's why he says that a soldier without ideological orientation is a potential criminal. How do you locate the criminality of a soldier? Is when they assume power, when they are in the field. In the democratic struggle, who are the soldiers? Our soldiers are the deployees that we deploy in parliament. The deployees that we deploy in local
presidential candidate.
Our deployees that we deploy into the presidents. Cabinet minister that we assume and we deploy into the cabinet of our country. Those must reflect the posture, must reflect the character of the organization. So the biggest responsibility that we have now, the alternative, is to train those people.
The former Harare East MP Honorable Alan Markham has expressed concern over delays by the ZANU-PF government to complete national infrastructure development projects. Honorable Markham said the small-paced manner in which road rehabilitation program is being conducted shows that the government is incompetent. He said it is concerning that the Harare Bedbridge Road Rehabilitation Program is not yet complete 7 years after its start. Meanwhile, Kariba Member of Parliament Honorable Shine Gwangwaba has challenged the government to provide details of contracts and cost of tenders that were awarded to companies working on road rehabilitation program. Honorable Gwangwaba also urged the government to move with pace to rehabilitate the Harare-Chirundu Highway. Let's hear Honorable Gwangwaba speaking.
We challenge the government through the Ministry of Transport to avail to the public the names of the company that were awarded tenders and the approximate charges that were charged by those companies, because it is imperative as the local people and the local beneficiaries would want to know. It is something that should be within public domain. Secondly, I urge the Ministry of Transport to make sure that they increase the pace at which they are doing their works along Chirundu, Harare-Chirundu Road, because it seems as if the pace is too slow. This road is an important road since it connects Harare and other Southern African countries. So I urge the government to increase its pace so that the travelers and the transporters they don't take hours to access other destinations.
An opposition councillor in Rua, Wilfred Chuma, has urged the government to fund basic education. Councillor Chuma, who donated stationery and shoes and socks to learners at Rujeko Primary School, said the government must ensure that every child had access to basic education. Let's hear Councillor Chuma speaking.
Makadi starangu ndinonzi Wilfred Chuma, ndiri councillor wekurwa local board ward 9 kunova kudhama Falls. Nezuro ndakatora mukana wekushanya pachikoro cherujeko primary chinova chiri muward ndinotungamirira. Wakanga uri mukana wokuti ndinoshanya ipapo ndichikwanisawo kunodoneta mabooks, bhutsu, masocks, maballpoints, mapenso nemaseltape nemakavha zvakare kuvana vanokwanisa kuita ivo 20. Chiri chiratidzo uye neshungu chekusimudzira dzidzo kuvana nekuvaning'ina vedu. Zviri zvinhu zvatinotarisirwa ise macounselors anotungamirira vanhu munharaunda kuti pamwe pavanenge varemerwa tinokwanisa kupindira tichibatsira. So zvinhu zvakandifadzawo neniwo kuti ndakakwanisawo kurangarira vanhu vemunzvimbo uye vana vemunzvimbo vabereki vakandisarudza kuti ndivatungamirire. So kurudziro yangu ndeyekuti kune vamwe vangu vakasarudzwa kuti vatungamirire nharaunda tikwanisewo kuzviita, tikwanisewo kubatsira kungava muzvikoro, dzingava chemberedzeri dzatorarama nadzo matinogara, pangava papi zvapo pandau kuti pabatsirwe. Saka nzira unokwanisa kusvika uchibatsira. So ndo mashoko andinawo.
As the city of Harare continues with Operation CBD Order Restoration, it is urging business people and building owners in the CBD to immediately regularize their operation with the city of Harare to ensure total compliance. Let's get more information from our reporter Langton Mwanaka.
As at 15th September 2025, the latest statistics issued today by the city of Harare are as follows. Total number of businesses closed 1,830. Buildings with arrears 534. Total buildings with disconnected water 81. Businesses without licenses 1,471. Number of buildings without building plans approved 609. Buildings with buildings plans approved 2,712. Buildings with expired fire extinguishers 125. Buildings with fire certification 3,814. Number of buildings without subdivision permits 744. It's me, Langton Mwanaka, reporting for CEMR.
Following public outcry last week about life sentences that were given to 9 Chinese nationals who were found in possession of cocaine, the National Prosecuting Authority (NPA) has since issued a statement saying they have taken note of public complaints to the issue. However, apart from indicating that the 9 criminals will be deported to their country, NPA did not provide details on whether they will relook on the case or not. There is general sentiment among the public that the judiciary has been captured by ZANU-PF. News coming from Malawi is that the incumbent president Lazarus Chakwera is losing against his predecessor Peter Mutharika from the results projected. Chakwera, who had good relations with Emerson Mnangagwa and Wicknell Chivayo, is viewed as incompetent. Meanwhile, opposition official Sam Gondongwe has said citizens in Zimbabwe must emulate their counterparts in Malawi and vote out the incompetent ZANU-PF from power. Gondongwe said,
News coming from Malawi is that the incumbent President Lazarus Chakwera is losing against his predecessor Peter Mutharika from the results projected. Chakwera, who has a good relation with Emerson Mnangagwa and Wycliffe Chivayo, is seen by Malawians as a person who is idle, who is incompetent, who is incapacitated by his mental faculty. Chakwera came to be friends with Wycliffe and Emerson Mnangagwa on the pretext that they would help him to facilitate the smooth winning of elections in Malawi. And but the Malawians have seen it, they saw it coming, and they were prepared for it, and they are putting Chakwera to his proper size. This should be emulated by all Zimbabwean loving citizens. We must emulate our counterparts in Malawi and vote these corrupt mafias out of the office, and put real leaders who steer this nation out of the quagmire of corruption, this brutal force that is used when it comes to people gathering, the arrests that are happening. And for your own information, our nation is a laughing stock. How can you arrest somebody who is involved in cocaine and just give them $150 as payment of guiltiness? This is bullshit. You know, these guys, they are involved. They are the ones that are peddling these drugs. So the Chinese guys are just small guys, so they cannot arrest their small guys and take them to jail. Zimbabweans, we should wake up and smell the coffee and emulate our counterparts and remove these guys that are destroying the fiber of our nation, that are destroying the fiber of our people, that are destroying the morale of the youth. You know, it is so sad that our government doesn't see anything wrong that is done by Chinese nationals that are in Zimbabwe. So, you know, when it comes to elections, let's stand up and let's speak with one voice, and let's stop this 2030 nonsense, and because we really need new leaders who are going to steer this nation out of all these things that we are witnessing today. We salute the Malawians for deciding precisely what they need.
The United Nations has raised alarm over Tanzania's escalating crackdown on opposition figures, journalists and civil society ahead of the October 2025 elections. Over 200 cases of enforced disappearances since 2019, along with torture, sexual violence, arbitrary detention, and at least one reported extrajudicial killing have been documented. The United Nations also condemned the government's blocking of social media platforms, suspension of media outlets, and harassment of opposition leaders, including the arrest of Chadema's chairperson on treason charges and the abduction of activist Mpaluka Saidi Nyangali, who remains missing. It urged Tanzania to end rights violations, restore press freedom, and ensure a fair electoral environment. Now let's take a look at our sports news. Virgil van Dijk scored deep in injury time as Liverpool scrambled past Atletico Madrid 3-2 in a UEFA Champions League game played at Anfield last night. Here are full results of matches played last night. Bayern Munich 3, Chelsea 1. PSG 4, Atalanta 0. Ajax 0, Inter Milan 2. Olympiacos 0, Pafos 0. Slavia Praha 2, Bodo Glimt 2. To conclude our Citizens Movement Radio News, here are the headlines once more. Zimbabwe, not your personal property, President Chamisa tells Mnangagwa. Chamisa remains our leader, says Molokeli. Opposition MPs call for electoral reforms. The news on CMRI English was brought to you by Bernard Chele. Me and the whole crew wishes you all a wonderful evening. Good night, you all. Meet us again in another news bulletin.